next week, next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, we have our first mid exam. Okay, there are no class. There is at that day we don't have class, but day before, which means next Wednesday, I'm going to do the review in the class. Okay, and the review I will send you guys this Friday or maybe Saturday. Okay, so that you can go through the review. Already I have finished your mid exam paper. It's gonna be like I'm not 100% sure, but it's gonna be like multiple choice questions. All questions are multiple choice questions. But your in general your exams, any exam, it can be like combination of multiple choice questions and short answer questions. Okay, that's the format. But you have to do it via online, which means via your MyStatLab. Okay. But this time, I believe that I don't need to change the format. All questions are multiple choice questions right now. So I think I will not change it. But please remember the format of the exam, multiple choice questions plus short answer questions. Okay. And you have to cover from chapter 1 to section 3.1, including 3.1 for your mid exam 1. Clear? Which means somewhere here, including central tendency, measures of central tendency, these three. This is a section 3, so you have to check this as well. From 1 to section 3.1, which means up to this one. Okay, excluding this one, up to this slide number 16, chapter 3. Clear? You will be having, as I mentioned, you will be having 2 bonus questions, each question worth 10 points, which means you will be having 20 bonus points. Okay, so take the advantage of those bonus questions. Okay, let's start sample standard deviation. So this is the place where I stopped last week. So as I mentioned at the very last moment, this can be rewrite like xi squared minus n times x bar squared over n minus 1, something like this. Okay, so this one, what I wrote here, this one or the previous one, you can use whatever you want. Okay, those 3, it doesn't matter, they are similar. The format is the different, but they are similar. Okay, check this example. You don't need to calculate anything, they have done the calculation for you. So just use these numbers. Data set 1 and data set 2, there are 2 data sets, they are different. Okay, 2 different data sets. For data set 1, we have the sample mean and this guy standard deviation, sample standard deviation. Same for the data set 2, we have sample mean and the standard deviation. You can see their means x bar for data set 1 and data set 2, they are similar, they are same value. But what about their standard deviation values? They are different. Because of that, we can see the difference between these 2 data sets. If you use central measurements, measures of central tendencies like sample mean, you cannot see the difference between these 2 data sets because mean is equal. But using this measurement, standard deviation, you can see the difference between those 2. By checking these 2 values, I can say the variation in the data set 2 is much more higher than the variation in the data set 1, right? You know, when S goes up, which means variation goes up. Okay, yeah. You can, when you check these numbers, you can see the same pattern. See, for this say data set 2, what is the range? 20, minimum is 20, maximum is 70. It's going to be like 50 range. Oh, the difference between minimum and maximum is like 50. But this one start from 41 and from 66, it's going to be like 25. Okay, so you can see the variation. So first data set variation is something like this much, but second one something like this much. Okay, so that's exactly what we can find using these measurements. This is what you have. This is something what you have learned. This we call dot plot, right? Horizontal axis, and you can see the dots on the horizontal axis. Just for a moment, forget about those X bar, those symbols. Just check on these horizontal axis and the dots, green color dots, which mean this dot plot. You can see for those two data sets for these values, you can map with this dot plot. Okay, in the middle, you can see either this one or this one, X bar, which means your mean. Both data sets mean values are equal. Okay, 50. So X bar denotes the mean. It denotes the sample mean. But what are these values? You know what is S, right? S means, S means standard deviation. I'll use STD div. Okay, standard deviation. So X bar plus S mean X bar has a value. For an example, X bar is 50. So X bar is 50, X bar plus S, which means 50 plus, for the first data set number 1, it is 7.4. S is 7.4, I guess. So this is going to be, this is going to be 50, 7.4, something like this. Okay. So this X bar plus S, we call one standard deviation. One is standard deviation because we have just S. Next one, X bar plus 2S, X bar plus 2S, we call 2 standard deviation. X bar plus 3S, we call 3 standard deviation. Okay, 1, 2, 3 based on these numbers. Okay, based on the standard deviation. But when we say 1 standard deviation, that means X bar plus S. That's that term, not just S. Okay, 1 standard deviation means this guy. Okay, 2 standard deviation means this guy. Either positive side or negative side, which means this one. 1 standard deviation means X bar plus or minus S. Plus or minus means your right hand side or left hand side. Okay, it can be plus or minus. Clear? So using this, we can find an interval like this. Clear? This is going to be like X bar plus S. This is like X bar minus S. So your here, somewhere here, you can find your X bar. Okay. When we increase the S, which means when we consider 2 standard deviation, which means X bar plus or minus 2S, 2 times S. This interval become bigger, right? 3 standard deviation, a little bit more. Okay. So using that, you can see, let's consider this one from here to here, which means X bar here plus 3S, X bar minus 3S. You can see in according to data set number 1, almost all observations, okay, almost all observations we can bound within this 3 standard deviation. 3 standard deviation, right? Same as same applies to the data set number 2. Okay, almost all. I'm not telling you that everything. I'm telling you almost all. Okay, we can bound within this 3 standard deviation. Okay, later, a couple of slides later, I'll show you there is a theorem based on that. So, but before, just remember this one. Almost all the observations we can bound within this 3 standard deviation. Okay. When you check these two, this one and this one, you can see the variation. The first one is something like this variation, but second one something like this. Okay, so you can see the second one, it has more variations than the first one. Okay, that's why we got like S for this one, I think 14 point something, for this one 7.4. Okay, so those numbers, yes, they represent the variation as well. Clear? This variation stuff, those I don't know how to hide this bar. Okay, so yes, you cannot see what is inside. Okay, this is just an example based on these 5 observations. Okay, just 5. Let's do this one. I know for the exams or your homeworks, you don't have to go. You don't have to do this by hand. You can use your calculator, so whatever it was. But it's better you should know how to deal with these by hand. Okay, it's a little bit pain, but just do a simple one. So these are the observations. Height in this column, I can find all observations. There are 5. First, okay, I'm going to use this equation to find the S. S equals summation of xi minus x bar okay, S equals summation xi minus x bar squared over n minus 1 square root. Okay, so first I need to calculate the xi minus x bar. Your x bar in this case, if I remember correct, it's going to be 78, 72, middle is 75. Yes, 75. Your x bar sample mean is 75 based on these 5 numbers, these 5 observations. Okay, so first one, xi mean xi's, x1, x2, x3 up to x5. So what is x1? It is 72. So 72 minus x bar is 75. This is -3. Okay, and 73 minus 75, -2, 76 minus 75, it is 1. 78 minus 75, it is 3. Okay, now what? I'm going to scatter all the values in this deviation from mean column. -3 squared, which is +9, right? -3 times -3, +9. Then this one 4, 1, 1. Did I miss something? Oh, sorry. It's just 1 row below. 4, 1, 1, 9. Clear? Once you add these together, which means this symbol, right? This symbol says to add those values, right? So 9, 9, 18, 20, 24. This is 24. Now plug these values to this equation, which is S equals square root of 24 numerator divided by n minus 1. N is 5. So 5 minus 1, it is 4. So 4 times 6, It's going to be square root of 6. Yes. Sorry. Find x bar using this. Don't you remember the equation? Summation of xi's divided by n. Clear? This okay. I just skipped that because we did it in classes, so it's gonna be this. Okay. Okay. So this is how you deal with standard deviation by hand. Okay, but it is much more easier to use your calculator or any other device. Okay. Any questions? These are something like standard deviation. I think I told you last time, standard deviation, which means this measure of variations. These are definite questions from for your exam. Okay. So yeah, in mid exam 1, you will be having a question or 2 questions based on central measures of central tendency. Okay. Next time you will see these questions as well for your mid exam 2. Okay, because these are the base. Still, we are trying to prepare the base. Okay. This is just the basic stuff. So after this section, we will move to some very cool stuff like real applications. Okay. Anyway, clear? Okay, let's move. This is what I told you, 3 standard deviation. Now you know what is this 3 standard deviation, right? This means x bar plus or minus. This is how we write plus or minus. Okay, plus or minus 3 times s. This means x bar minus 3 to x bar plus 3. Sorry, 3s, like an interval. Okay. In this rule, they say that almost all, okay, not everything, almost all observations in any data set lie within these 3 standard deviation. Okay, lie within these 3 standard deviation either side of the mean. That's why we use plus or minus. So it's going to be this side or this side. So your x bar is somewhere here. Let's say your data set is something like this. Distribution of the data set. So your 3 standard deviation, this side positive and this side negative. Oh, sorry. So you can see almost all you can cover within this boundaries. Okay, it's a rule. You can see this. I mean, in general data sets as well. Next, we will be having 2 rules or 2 theorems like Chebyshev rule and the empirical rule. These are like something you should know, because using these 2, we can find the solutions very easily. Okay, most of the time you will see questions in your homework based on this Chebyshev rule and empirical rule. Okay, maybe in the question in the mid exams as well or final exam. So let's go through this. First, Chebyshev rule. In this case, this Chebyshev rule defined on real number k. Let's say real number k. Do you know what are the real numbers mean, right? Real numbers mean any number you can find on the real axis, right? 1.2, 1.25, something like that. But here they have, they have restricted it to see k greater than or equal 1. So in your case, k should be greater than or equal 1. In this Chebyshev rule, you have to stick with this one, k greater than or equal 1. It's a real number. K is a real number. You know how to denote the real number, right? K belongs to real number. That's how we denote the real numbers. Okay, that capital R denotes the real numbers. Okay, Simply this means if you have a real number k which is greater than or equal 1, you can bound, okay, you can bound at least this much observations, you can bound at least this much observations within these boundaries, within these standard deviations. Okay, x bar, you know what is x bar? It is the sample mean. So x bar minus k, let me draw it for you. Here x bar minus k, here x bar plus k. So you should know x bar somewhere here. Okay, based on the k value, it's going to be fake. But they claim that in this Chebyshev rule, at least this much, 1 minus. So they claim that 1 minus 1 over k squared observations we can bound within this range. Okay, simply this is this number definitely it is in between 0 and 1. Okay, but it is easy. You can, once you multiply this by 100%, you can find the percentage. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's do one example. I don't know whether we have example or not. No, we don't have. So let's consider k equals 2. K equals 2. Clear? So it satisfies this one, k greater than or equal 1, right? In that case, let me let me use the same one. It doesn't matter about the x bar, so keep it as it is, x bar minus 2 because k is 2 and x bar plus 2, right? We need to calculate what is that part. 1 minus 1 over k squared. 1 minus 1 over, now k is 2 squared. So this is going to be 1 minus 1 over 4, 1 minus 1 4. This is 3 over 4. Simply, this is 0.75. Clear? So as this is the number you can get using Chebyshev rule, 0.75, because these are based on relative frequencies. So you know relative frequency value between 0 and 1. That's why we have 75, 0.75. If you want, simply you can multiply this by 100%. You can get this is 75%, right? So in general, within my this x bar minus 2 and x bar plus 2, I can cover 75% observations in my data set. Clear? That's what this mentions. Or you can simply stick with 0.75. That's totally fine. Okay. So if you have questions based on Chebyshev rule, you can simply plug this, plug the values and find the corresponding percentage or corresponding relative frequency value. This one or this one. It doesn't matter. Okay, based on your question, you can discuss. Clear? Okay. Next one, empirical rule. In this rule, they follow those 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviation, 3 standard deviation. Okay, based on 1, 2, or 3 standard deviations, they have given or they have proposed some approximations. Like first one, property 1, which means it's for 1 standard deviation. If we have 1 standard deviation, we can approximately cover about 68% from our observation. That's the rule number 1. I mean, that's the property number 1. It's based on this one, which means 1 standard deviation, which means simply 1 standard deviation covers 68% in our data set. We can extend that. When we move to the 2 standard deviation, it covers about 95% observations in our data set. Okay. 3 standard deviation, it covers almost all which means as a percentage 99.7 from our data set. So you have to remember these standard deviations and these approximated values or these approximated percentage. Okay, if you have a question to solve using this, you need those two. You have to map this standard deviation, what is the, whether it is 1, 2, or 3, with that numbers. Next slide, you will see an example. So how to check, let's see how to deal with this kind of problem. Okay, but the idea is if you have one standard deviation, which means it covers about 68% observations in my data set. Okay, something you should know here, this rule we can apply only for roughly bell-shaped distributions. What is the bell shape? This one. Okay, it's gonna be like skewed, that's fine, but the shape should be like this. Okay, in statistics there are two major paths that we can follow. One thing is deal with these kind of distributions. We call these distributions Gaussian distributions, or in general we call them parametric distributions. Parametric. So this based on this kind of bell shapes or approximated bell shapes, we can apply this empirical rule for these kind of bell shapes. It doesn't matter left is skewed or right is skewed. If it is a bell shape, then that's enough, because we are, see, roughly bell shape, we are only approximating. We are not going to give the exact values. Okay, so roughly bell shape is more than enough. Okay, clear? Please remember these two values, the relationship between this one and this one with this one, like that. Okay, if it is 3 standard deviation, which means it covers about 99.7% in my data set. Okay. Okay, let's see how we apply this rule to solve the problem. Okay, sorry, just before that, this is the illustration of the previous story. You can see this one, which means 1 standard deviation, x bar plus or minus s. It covers 68%. This is x bar plus or minus 2s. And this is x bar plus or minus 3s. Okay. In this case, it is a perfect bell shape, but we just need a roughly bell shape. That's fine. Okay, clear? Okay, let's see how to solve problems using this empirical rule. We can skip this story and stick with the numbers. Okay, we have roughly bell shaped distribution. That's what we need. Sample mean. I'll denote mean x bar because it is a sample mean. It is 120. I'm going to skip these units. Okay, for a moment, just forget about units. Then standard deviation, this guy right here, s equals 12, right? So what they ask, what percentage? Okay, now you need to find a percentage. This woman's systolic blood pressure between, this is important, between these two values. Between mean is kind of a boundary values. So 96 and 144. You know your x bar, it is 120. Now what? You have to calculate 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviation, 3 standard deviation. This side or this side. So let's calculate 1 standard deviation for the right hand side, x bar plus s, which is 120 plus 12, 134. No, 34, 32. 132. right? For the right hand side. Okay. Then, okay, it's not enough. You can see this gap, 144 and 96. So I have to cover this gap, right? So next, move forward, x bar plus 2 times s. Now you can see, oh, sorry, it can be 44, sorry. Now you can see we got 144, which is the boundary value we need. At the same time, to verify this, you have to calculate the other side as well, x bar minus. So let's calculate x bar minus 2s, which is 120 minus 24. Sorry, two times, yeah, 24 equals to 96. Yes, we have what we need, right? Clear? Which means what? This one, 2 standard deviation, right? So these two values exactly we can map to 2 standard deviation, which means what's the percentage? 95%, right? So you don't have to find the you don't have to calculate the percentage, simply map. Okay, simply map 2 standard deviation to empirical rule, get the value. It's gonna be, see, 2 standard deviation, this one, it is 95. So answer is 95%. Clear? This is how we use either empirical rule or Chebyshev rule to solve problems. Chebyshev, for the Chebyshev rule, you have to follow a very similar process, as I mentioned, as I showed you in the last slide. Clear? Most of the time you will you will recognize these kind of problems in your homework. Okay. Maybe in the exams as well. Any questions? Did you understand how we solve this? Right? Okay. Now, 3.4. This is some kind of, yes. This is also definite, I mean, compulsory stuff for your exam. Next exam, mid exam 2. 5 number summary and box plots. For a moment, forget about box plots. 5 number summary. 5 number summary, which means there should be 5 numbers, something 5. But you already learned 2 of these, 2 from this 5, which are minimum and maximum, or min and max. So still we have to learn 3 numbers, okay, to cover this 5 number summary. Let's see what are these 3. Those 3 numbers are quartiles. First quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. Okay. So quartiles, we can identify quartiles, or we can use quartiles to identify any kind of distribution. It's going to be like skewed distribution, bell-shaped, symmetric one, or either uniform. That's totally fine. Or triangular shape, it's also fine. We can use these 3 quartiles. Okay. Okay. Let's see how we find these 3 quartiles. Quartiles. First quartile denoted by Q1, second one Q2, third one Q3. Okay. So these quartiles are exactly same what we have done with medians. Okay, these quartiles means medians of these data sets. Medians. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's check this one. This is your data set. I'm going to use this uniform distribution. Okay, it is the easiest one to explain. So I have this distribution uniform. I'm going to break this distribution into 2 equal halves. The entire distribution, I'm going to split into 2 equal halves like this. Right? So this breaking point is the Q2. Okay, breaking point is the Q2. Then I'm consider these two halves, this side, this piece, and this piece, this half. These halves we call, this one we call, let's say this one we call lower half or left half. Oh, later you will see another word. I'll tell you why we call lower half, and this half we call upper half. Oh, yeah, upper half. Okay. So now I'm going to consider this lower half, this one, and do the same thing for this half, which means I'm going to divide this half into two pieces, equal pieces. That place I denote Q1, and if I extend the same thing to this half, that place is Q3, which means Q1 represents the middle position of the middle value of the first half or lower half. Q2 is the middle portion of the upper half. Okay, so it's going to be like this. This one, something like this. Okay, so this represents this Q3 mean here. This for this one, Q1 is here. Okay, so they are medians of each subgroups. For this subgroup, let's say this is this subgroup, consider this one. For this subgroup Q1 is the median. For the right hand side one, Q3 is the median. To entire data set, everything, Q2 is the median. Okay, Q2 is the median. So you know how to find the median, right? So you have to apply the same equation in +1 divided by 2 to find Q1, Q2, and Q3. So specifically, this Q2 is your median in the data set. Exactly the median, right? Q1 and Q3, let's see how we find those two. Clear? All these three are medians. Q1 is like this. Q1 represents first 25% in your data set. Q2 represents first 50% from your data set, and Q3 represents first 75% from your data set. Okay, see, 25%, 50%, sorry, up to this point, 75%, right? So they are like that. Okay. Okay, these are the words, bottom half and top half. Those two pieces, bottom half and top half, or lower half and upper half. That's fine, because I'm not asking what is this half. Okay, yes, you can use whatever you need, but need to understand what is the lower half, what is the upper half, or bottom and top. Okay, there is a requirement for this case. If you remember, when we find the median, the only one and only requirement was sort the data set. That's it. I mean, order your data set. That's it. But here, to find the quartiles, you need to sort your data set into increasing order or ascending order from lowest to highest. That is a must. Okay. Because of that, that's why we have these names, bottom and top half, because once you consider the Q2, left side lower numbers and right hand side is going to be large numbers. Okay. Next, after you order your list or your observations, determine the median. This medians mean Q2. It is exactly same in +1 divided by 2. Find the position, find the value, right? Next, divide the data set into two. Okay, that's how we find the median. Median divides the data set into two pieces. Bottom half, find the median of the bottom half and the top half. Those are the Q1 and Q3 respectively. Okay. Entire data set, exactly your median. This is how we find the median, how we find the Q1, Q2, Q3. But let me do this example, okay, so that you can understand what is going on with this. We have odd number of observations and even number of observations. First, check odd number of observations. You have to rewrite this into ascending order. 10, 15, 16, I can see 18, and also there are there are two 20s, 28, 25, 28 and 30. There are 9, 3, 6, 9. Yes, there are 9. Okay, into ascending order. Now, I assume that you know how to find the median. Okay, you know how to find the median. So easily, you guys can find the median. This is your Q2 equals to median. Okay, right? Okay, how do you find the median? Position, you can find n plus 1 divided by 2. This gives you the position, force. Go to that position, find the value, median. Now, since you have odd number of observations, what you have to do to find the Q1 or Q3, you have to add this Q2 into your lower half or bottom half, as well as the 3, 4, 5. Yes, this half. Yes, like this. Using the first, okay, I have colors, right? I forgot it. Okay, let me use this one. This half is the bottom half, right? Yes, bottom half. Using this, you can find Q1. Play the same game, how you find the median. But in this case, what is n? For this part, n is 3, 4, 5. 5. So 5 plus 1 divided by 2 is the third position. So your Q1 is 16. Right? Okay. Okay. Do the same to your upper half or top half. Let's say green. So for this one, n plus 1 divided by 2, n plus 1 divided by 2, which is n is again 5, plus 1 divided by 2, it is 3. Third position, this third position, okay, which means this guy. So your Q3 is 25. Here, this is how we find the Q1, Q2, Q3. This is exactly what they have mentioned here. Find the median first. That's what I did. First, find the median. Then, yes, divide the ordered data set into two halves. Yes, this automatically happens when you find the median. Bottom half and top half, if number of observation is odd, then you have to include your median to bottom half and top half. Exactly what I did. Okay, clear? Okay. Yes, it's almost time. I'll do this even number case next time. Okay.